Hey guys, it is Jeremy again. Welcome back to Books and Coffee, and I'm back for another video for you guys. And as promised, because I'm getting kind of behind, I'm on season 5 of The Rifleman, so I'm here to do my season review for the 3rd season, which consists of 34 episodes. Once again, this is not really going to be much of a review. It's going to kind of me just talking about the characters a little bit more and talking more about the, some of the episodes and just ranting and raving about how amazing this show is. So, yeah. So, without further ado, let's get started. If you have not seen my reviews of the first 2 seasons, I will leave them up in the card and down in the description box below if you want to go and check out my reviews / not reviews of the first 2 seasons. Go and check those out if you feel obliged to. We have a new character coming into the mix with this season, known as Millie Scott. She basically takes over the general store from Hattie Denton because she had to leave. I'm pretty sure they threw that storyline because the actress who played her decided either they were just cutting her out of the show or she just couldn't do the Rifleman anymore. I don't know, because I think that she was playing the character of this, and she was also playing that same character on the she was playing a different character on the Andy Griffith Show, so I'm guessing that's probably why she was cut out. I think she's only in 17 episodes, of the Rifleman, which is a little bit sad because I loved Hattie. She's such a wonderful character, and a lot of my favorite episodes have her in it. She's an amazing actress. If I remember her name, I'll probably link it somewhere, or, yeah, I don't really remember her name off the top of my head. So, but the episode that they bring Millie in, I hate this, 2 DVD complete thing, Miss Millie, which is overall episode A4 of the show. This has one of my just favorite. I love Millie. She comes across as this very messed up female. She has no consideration for other people. She's like, you owe me money, you pay it, end of story, goodbye, the end. And this is the 19th century. This is, where people worked for every freaking. I mean, if you think you work hard for what you have now in society in the 21st century, 2019, that is nothing compared to how hard people worked centuries ago. Obviously, which just stands to reason. History tells us all of that, really, but. It kind of, in this show, it really shows how difficult, being a rancher was, having, to, herd your cattle, waking up every morning knowing you have so many chores to do. It's one thing to think about, I could do that. I think I said this in my previous review, but I had said, I could do that. And then if you really think about actually having to do it, it doesn't look so exciting to do. But we have one of the most amazing 2-parters in this season known as the Wyoming story, which is where all the cattle on the McCain's ranch have, so I think it's called feet and mouth disease, and they all die. All of it is gone, and so their profit is gone, and so now it's a huge struggle for them. So now Lucas has to basically go undercover as this pretend outlaw to Wyoming to hopefully get these crooks or people turned in so he can get enough money to get another herd again. And so he's gone for 2 months. He doesn't get to see Mark for 2 months, and so Mark hasn't seen his father in that long, and so his faith begins to shake for his father a little bit, and so he literally opens up the idea he's never coming back because he's been gone for 2 months. That's a long time, and the ending of that episode is one of the most joyful, happy, emotional things I think I've ever seen on television. And it's just too much for my fangirlingness heart to handle. It was everything. I always like to think the first 3 seasons are the best seasons, because I think that when Mark is still quite young, the show is just better. I feel like the stories were a little bit better, but the storylines mature as the characters do, so you can't always expect everything. I kind of feel the same way about the Dick Van Dyke Show and the Andy Griffith Show. When the kid is still younger, I feel like the storylines were a little bit better. I think it's different. But the show just really encompasses so much about that I wish our society still was. It's kind of one of those that it makes me kind of realize of how far we've come as the world, how far times have changed, because back in, the West, 18th century, the show takes place between 1881 and 1885, so I think this season takes place in around, I want to say maybe 1882 at the beginning, 1882 to 1883, and you don't have public bathrooms. You don't have running water. And I don't think I could do that. Maybe the running water I could get used to, but not having a public bathroom, I don't know about that one. Perhaps it's because I'm always accustomed to having one. It's been alive my whole life. So to be able to picture what it's like to go to the bathroom in not a bathroom. I guess, peeing wouldn't be such a bad thing, but, the other bathroom thing that you have to do, not going to say it because I'm like that. That'd be a little bit interesting. That'd be pretty interesting. Not really interesting. I'd say more gross and uncomfortable, because we're not going to go there. We're not. You can call me a prude all the fuck you want. I don't even care anymore. But I never really realized things like this until I really started watching it. And it's really fun watching older shows because it makes me look at how things were back then and then see where we are today. And, certain things we have are great. I don't really like a lot of technology, even though I use a lot of it. I have a cell phone, which I don't really have service on because I'm not going to spend $50 a month when no one's going to... I don't have one because nobody calls me or texts me, so what's the point of having a phone if no one's going to be doing that? It's one of those, well, this is $50 that could go towards more necessity things like, shaving cream, razors, food. That $50 can be used in much better ways than physically blowing it. I do have a house phone, like most people. You can probably see it right there by my TV. It's basically for emergencies. If people really have to get a hold of me, I don't really need a cell phone, even though I do kind of like having one for like internet research and all this other crap, or stuff that I want to look up, and I'll be able to have those things. But another thing that this show does really well is it continues the wonderful father-son relationship between Lucas and Mark, and how it can be challenging sometimes. And I've never seen a relationship between these characters, or I've never seen a father-son relationship that is done so honestly. And I love how they don't lie to each other. And I love how we see a relationship, where, most parents would send their child outside because they don't want to hear something that maybe is bad. And Lucas even says at one point, it's like, I make it a point not to keep anything from Mark, no matter what it is. even if it might be a little bit hard for him to understand, he still tells Mark everything. And I love that kind of honesty in a parent. Most parents nowadays wouldn't do that. They would shield them or not tell them things, because they're just not ready. And that was one of the things when I was a kid I detested. I hated when things were kept from me, and then I'm told it's for your own good. And then I have the feeling of, was it really for my own good, or did you just not want to tell me? It's one of I understand it, I do, but at the same time, I think it just depends on what it is. Like, give benefit of the doubt. Maybe your kid is actually ready to hear those things. I don't know, but it's really fun to see these characters grow in different ways, and the one thing I absolutely love about the show is the Rifleman aspect, because the show is called The Rifleman, and I'm an airhead, and I didn't mention this in my reviews of the first 2 seasons, because Lucas uses a Winchester shotgun, and he doesn't like a pistol or a handgun, which personally, I'm not really a gun person. I've never fired a gun. I've never even owned one, and I don't know. If we lived in a more dangerous type society, like if we still lived like in the West, for example, and we just never inherited the modern world or digital era ever, if we had certain things, like if we had maybe for refrigerators and public things, but everything else was still, there was no, say for example, we had electricity, but we didn't have TVs or DVD players or cell phones. We had electricity, and that was it. We just had lighting in our homes, and that's all we ever had. And, we lived in a much more dangerous aspect of the world where people settled everything with guns, which is what the Wild Wild West was. Everything was settled with the use of their gun. So a lot of death, destruction, and mayhem in those days. But I'm really weird because it seems so much more exciting. Like nothing ever is really exciting anymore in this world. It's always so very political and very boring. That's just my opinion. I've kind of become very jaded when it comes to our society. I feel like there's always a problem. There's always a problem, whether it's a problem in books, because I've talked about a lot of that discussions on here, and I don't know, I don't know. I think it'd just be really fun to go back in this time and kind of just live one day just to see how different or exciting it would be. I think they would be very exciting to live in another time period. There's pros and cons to every time period, I suppose. But for me, living in this world, in the time I was born in, I almost always talk to God. I'm just I had to be born. I had to be born in the 21st century. Not really. I technically was born in 91, so technically I was actually born in the 20th century. But it is what it is. It's really fun, and what I love about the show so heavily is the fact that every episode has such a interesting plot line. I've heard a lot of fans of the show say that this show really should have at least started out being a 30-minute show and moved into an hour program. And honestly, I think it worked very well for 25-minute episodes. 30 minutes if you watch them with commercials on TV. But if you have the DVDs, then every episode is 24, 25 minutes. And I really liked the fact that the show tells such a great story in that time, in only about half an hour. I'm sorry, my nose is being very itchy. I have allergies this time of year. But it worked very well. I was never worried, and the music, I think I've ranted for videos about the music of the show, because they are able to make, at the end of the day, you know nothing bad is really going to happen to Lucas or Mark or Micah or Millie or any of the other characters. I mean, for the most part, you know they're going to be okay, but the tension, the acting, the music makes you scared for them, even though at the end of the day, you know they're going to be fine. Even episodes I've rewatched, I still get that same anxiety, scared feeling of, oh my gosh, are they going to be okay? Are they going to live? And that's what makes the show so good. Because even though you've seen it 100 times probably, you know how it's going to end, but it still gets you scared every time. That's when you know you have a great TV show on your hands, when the people making it can affect you that way every time. I mean, there are shows that I've seen so much that, like, I literally don't even have to watch it. I know every line of dialogue. I know almost everything that happens. Charmed being a huge factor of that. I've seen that show too much. And I am not going to be doing season reviews for that one. I'm probably going to do a giant, full-blown TV show review of that show when I get around to it. But this show has some of my favorite episodes. The episode that is called 7 is one of my favorites because it follows 7 basically murderers, horrible people. They basically stop in North Fork for supplies because they're all about to go to Huma to be hanged. They're like serial killers, robbers, and they basically take over the town. And one of the best lines in this entire season is said in this show. I think I saved it because I thought it was brilliant. Give me 1 second to find it for you guys because it's true in almost every single aspect. Okay, and this is a line that is from the very end of episode episode that's titled 7. I keep wanting to say episode 7, but it's not. And it says, a town or even a country is really lost is when the people who live in it get careless and stop paying attention to how it's being run. That is true in every single aspect. Sorry if I just got really white. Sorry. But that is true in every aspect. It's true in every single aspect ever. Because it just speaks volumes. It speaks volumes of the society in which we live today. Because nobody cares about how our country's being run, and even if you have a voice, nobody really cares. You know, politics has really taken over the world. And I freaking hate politics. But that was a really great quote, and it's probably my favorite quote from the entire series because it's the one that really stuck with me when I first watched it, and I'm like, oh, that is so true. And then you know, Lucas in that you know talks about things about history, and then how we can look back at history and learn from it and try not to make the same mistakes, which is true, but just because we make a decision that maybe our ancestors didn't make doesn't mean it's the right decision. I mean, it's just kind of one of how it really works. And so, yeah, this review is kind of not really a review. It's not really a review, but it's there's the season 3 episode. I believe it's episode 7. Yeah, called the Marriott. Because a lot of people who I was looking at some fan sites for the Rifleman, and there was a huge discussion section on that episode where someone had said that they thought that Mark was a little bit of a too perfect character. Like, he didn't make mistakes, he didn't really get into trouble, and people were calling that a little bit unrealistic. And perhaps maybe it was, or it could be the fact that he was raised really well. He was 6 years old when his mother passed away, and that just happens. You know, I lost my mother when I was young as well, and I was raised, learning right from wrong and everything along those lines, and and people were talking about how he's never really disciplined. He kind of is actually. He comes home hours late from school, and Mark was supposed to pick up something from his father, and so for a week he has extra chores and things like that, and I think that that Mark was raised very well, and I love how the show has a lot of Christian moral standpoints, where every episode really tells a moral lesson and things like that. And not even Christian ones either. I think it just did a really great job at doing that as well. And it's kind of nice to have a show that has those wonderful life lessons. I mean, I'm 27 years old, and every episode I learn something new that I may not have thought of, or I may not have known. And I think it just, why shows like this and how it continues to inspire this generation. I mean, I know there's people in our generation that do watch the show, or the DVDs wouldn't be selling. It wouldn't be on social media sites, and I think it's just really amazing. The show is almost 57. Well, the show is 60 years old, and I would have loved to have been able to watch it as it aired. I think that would have been amazing, and I wish that I could have gotten to meet Chuck Connors before he passed away. He was one when I was one when he died. So, but anyway, I'm going to try to get my review up for season 4 this week, and I'm almost done with season 5. So my reviews of seasons 4 and 5 will be up next week, probably Tuesday and Wednesday. So until then, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know what you thought of it, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.